If you're an influencer, want to be an influencer, or maybe just hire influencers, then this video is for you. You need to stick around and pay attention because this could be the whole ball of wax. This could be your entire business if you get it wrong. What we're going to talk about is the potential liabilities and risk and regulatory requirements that you're under as an influencer and a company who hires them. Now, this is not legal advice, but it's meant to make sure you're aware of what the situation is and you do your due diligence. Why we're going to talk about this? Because marketing matters and marketing done right matters. Hello, my name is Bill Arnold. I'm president of Prevail Marketing. Every single day, we deliver to you a video that's trying to be helpful to you, trying to give you some insights, some ways to grow your business through better sales and marketing. We try to give you concepts and strategies and things that we know can impact you. And honestly, this is an area we talk long and hard about whether or not we want to include it because, it's not legal advice, but just a fair warning. And we wanted to make sure that everyone's just aware that so often most influencers are sole practitioners, sole proprietors, individuals just trying to make it in the marketplace. They're not lawyers, they don't have managers, they don't know what they can and cannot do. They're just trying to hustle and get it right. And many marketing departments are small businesses. They're not running off to the lawyers and saying, hey, what can we do? What should we do? They're just kind of making it up as they go along. So these are some areas that you need to think about, concern yourself with, and make sure you do it properly. Now, if you have any questions, contact your lawyer. In fact, I highly recommend that any contract you have, any relationship you have it run by an attorney. It'll save you a lot of pain afterwards in many, many cases. So let's begin. The first thing I want to recommend both parties, the company and the influencers, is do your due diligence. Just because you got offered that contract as an influencer doesn't mean you should gobble it up. I've seen a lot of influencer contracts that have come across my desk, and many of them are not fair to one part or the other. Somebody tries to slip things in. So make a point to have an attorney look at it. Make a point, though, before you do that, to do your due diligence. Look the person up on social media. See what they're talking about. Everyone's going to have distractors on social media, but there are people out there that have a history of bad advice, saying things they shouldn't have, getting in trouble, having so many detractors that, I've seen influencers out there, and very prominent ones, threaten to fight people because they just want to get attention. Any attention in their mind is good attention. So you need to make sure who you're doing business with. Make sure you do your homework. If you don't appreciate how important association is, how it can wreck your brand, think of those poor people who merely accepted a plane ride from Jeffrey Epstein, didn't do anything else wrong, just got on his plane because he offered it. Do you think they're regretting it now? Do you think they feel bad about that guilt by association? Yeah. So make sure you know who you're going to be working with. The second thing you need to look at is regulatory requirements because there are regulations in place designed to protect the public. The Federal Trade Commission has disclosure laws and enforcement laws that you need to abide by, you need to pay attention to. For example, most influencers engage with a company because what? They're getting something of value. Maybe it's swag, maybe it's free products, maybe it's a form of compensation such as Bitcoin or cash. If you're getting paid in any form or fashion, you need to disclose this in a conspicuous and clear manner. People need to know you're giving this advice because you've been paid in part to do it. Maybe you would have given it anyhow. Hopefully you would have. But that doesn't matter. They need to know that you have a bias. They need to know you're giving this because you got compensation for it. And you can't bury this. You can't sort of just hide it behind a long list of hashtags or put it in an inconspicuous place. It's got to be a place where users are likely to see it. It's very important you do that. If you're not sure what to do, besides contacting an attorney, there's enforcement guides that you can go to and learn in detail about what FCC requires. So, a few things. I already mentioned the fact that if you're compensated, you need to disclose it. You also must give your real opinion. They want you to be truthful and honest. So if you hate a product and you say, I love this is the best thing, it's perfect, besides getting potential liability when people find it's not perfect, it's bad for them, you're going to violate FTC laws, regulations. You must actually have used the product or service. You can't say this is the best thing since sliced bread if you've never tried it. You also cannot make claims anytime about that require medical or scientific proof. You can't do that. What is the penalty for doing something like this? What's it cost you? Per every violation, I think it's over $43,000 per violation. That's a steep price to pay, isn't it? for not doing your homework, not doing the thing that's required. There's also a slew of other things that are legal entanglements you can get yourself into. You can violate intellectual property laws. Be careful you don't use copyrighted materials. Make sure you have permission to use what you're using. Make sure you don't make false and misleading claims because it can lead to legal consequences. People, because of the FTC, can sue you for false statements you say. There's also things such as privacy and protection laws that you have to worry about. Don't disclose things. Don't, report things that'll get you in trouble. Besides all of that, there's general advertising laws you have to pay attention to. So do your homework as an influencer. Make sure you know what's required. The one thing we do whenever we have a contract with an influencer on behalf of one of our clients, we basically make sure we have certain clauses built into it. Your attorney should take a look at these and decide whether it's right for you, but we've had mutual, hold harmless, and indemnification agreements for all acts and omissions of either party. So if they do something wrong, they're going to hold us harmless, assuming they've got money to do it. The right for final content review. I always require this of influencers, so I know they don't go off, they're off brand. They don't say things they shouldn't say. I want to see what they're going to put out there, not because I'm trying to control it. I'm not. I'm just trying to make sure it's not misleading, misrepresenting in any way, shape, or form. Performance review requirements are always built into this contract. What does that mean? We set a clear set of key performance indicators, a key set of metrics that we want to hit, that they need to do. For example, maybe the number of times they posting, maybe to the crowd, the size of their following. All sorts of things are built into these metrics. And we put in that, look, we're going to review this maybe weekly, maybe monthly, depending on the engagement. And we specify how they have to present the information to us. So there's formal understanding going into it. We're going to be tracking your performance. We're going to be tracking results and making sure it meets everyone's expectations. We also put into contracts that they cannot have any conflict of interest. What does that mean? That they can't represent a competitor at the same time they're representing one of my clients, or they can't right afterwards. One of the worst things that happen to a brand is if you have an influencer, you put a lot of time. Look at Verizon. Can you hear me now? The guy, I can't think of his name, he was a spokesperson for Verizon for many, many years. And then what did he do after? He went to another phone company. Boy, that was a great impact. We want to make sure that doesn't happen to our clients, because it takes all what he put together, and it says like, well, this is better now. You don't want that to happen. Again, sort of similar to content review, we also have required that we get approval of brand messaging and guidance. They adhere to it. They can't, change our colors, change our fonts, change our logo, add a mascot that doesn't exist. Those kind of things you have to make sure are built into the agreement so they don't go off script, if you will. The reality is, influencer marketing works. It's one of the most cost-effective, impactful ways to leverage other people's time, energy, reputation, and reach that you can do. I think about every marketing department ought to be doing some sort of influencer marketing. We've got a whole series of stuff we talked about previously. But the point being is, I've saw people get in trouble because they just went with a particular person, didn't do their due diligence. On the corollary, I've seen influencers get in trouble because the company was a bad company and it wrecked their reputation for the future. So you don't want to be on either side of that equation. You want to make sure you do it right. So do your homework, do your due diligence. Make sure you know what the FTC laws are, advertising laws are. Make sure you have a contract that protects you on both sides. And for that, I highly recommend, my conclusion for this is one piece of advice. Seriously, hire an attorney. Don't take shortcuts. The risks are too great. Get somebody who understands business law. Make sure they understand what its purpose you're going to use it for. Look at the contract and give you guidance. If you're not sure you can say something, don't say it unless you get approval from an attorney. Yes, they're not going to micromanage you, but they're going to keep you out of trouble. So I hope this helps you. I hope it gives you a thought that maybe you ought to look before you leap. Make sure you're on solid ground. Is that enough metaphors for you? I could do a few more. But instead, I'm just going to ask you, instead of me giving any more metaphors, please like, please subscribe, please follow. And tomorrow, we'll have another video for you. I hope we help you guide your way to better marketing sales. And by that, business growth and success. Have a great night.